With the box office success of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the latest entry into that cinematic universe, a fourth movie has been confirmed to be coming out March 19th, 2027, which is 1 week before the next entry into the MonsterVerse films on March 26th, 2027. And this has many people posing the question, how might the presence of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie 1 week before the next MonsterVerse movie impact the box office performance of that MonsterVerse movie? I'll talk a little bit about why I think these two aren't really in competition with each other before diving into, why they might actually be in competition with each other and what might happen as a result. As we're starting to see these studios release movies onto home media earlier and earlier, it's safe to say that those first few weeks at the box office are critical to the profitability and the financial success of a movie. To that end, studios are being very, very careful with where they place these movies and positioning them so that there aren't that many competitors playing at the box office at the same time. I don't know if Paramount Pictures sees the MonsterVerse as a competitive film, and I don't think that they would have put Sonic 4 1 week before MonsterVerse 6, I think it is, if they felt that they were competitors. While we don't have demographic information available for these worldwide box office totals, at a glance, I think it's fair to say that there is a slight difference, at the very least, in the demographic of the people choosing to see Sonic the Hedgehog versus a MonsterVerse film. And yes, while the MonsterVerse does have many kid-friendly merchandise items, playmates, all that good stuff, I do think that the nature of these big, bombastic monster flicks is slightly different than, Jim Carrey dancing on screen with himself, So I think it is safe to say, to at least to some extent, that Sonic is a little bit more geared toward a younger audience, but folks like me can enjoy it as well. Whereas the MonsterVerse, maybe a slightly older audience is the target demographic for the MonsterVerse. That being said, while Paramount Pictures may not see the MonsterVerse as competition, Legendary may see Sonic as competition and may end up moving that MonsterVerse 6 movie release date. We've seen this before in the past with Marvel and DC Studios. Whenever they had a superhero film coming out within the same sort of time frame, one of them budged, one of them moved. I think that Batman v Superman was supposed to come out the same day as Winter Soldier or something like that, and then it was DC that ended up moving their film release a little bit forward. So that's why I don't see these two being in really direct competition with one another. Now let's talk about if they are in fact in direct competition with one another. More and more, I think it's fair to say that going to the movies is not so much about seeing the movie as it is the experience of going to the cinema, going with your friends, seeing something on a big screen with a really good audio system, buying some snacks, having a night off. But as time has gone on, that experience has gotten more and more expensive. Cineplex Canada recently updated their combo #1 prices. I think it's a large popcorn, large drink, and bag of candy for like $32. That's absurd. I was reading this article from Forbes the other day, and it was saying that the sale of really large televisions increased by a stupid margin over the 2020-2022 time period for reasons that you are probably quite familiar with. And so there's been this huge push for people to be able to create a nice cinematic experience in their own home with their own food, something that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So if there are in fact two movies coming out back-to-back weekends in 2027, and they are vying for those customer dollars, which may be limited, then it could pose a problem. And you might very well have a customer, an audience member, choosing which one they see in theaters and which one they wait for a home release. Speaking of home release, the home releases of those next films might be a huge deciding factor. For Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the home release was about 4 weeks after the theatrical release, whereas Godzilla Kong: The New Empire was about 6 weeks after the theatrical release. So if I have to wait 6 weeks to see MonsterVerse 6, but I only have to wait 4 weeks to see the next Sonic film, maybe I do want to go see that MonsterVerse film first. Not only that, but to me at least, Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't scream to me as something that is hugely benefited from that theatrical experience. There are the laughs, the crowd energy for sure, but the vibe of seeing a monster film on the big screen with the audio system making you feel every punch, every blow that lands, that to me is more of a must-see in theaters than something like Sonic 4. And by the time the MonsterVerse 6 comes out, I only have to wait maybe 3 more weeks for Sonic 4 to see in the comfort of my own home. That seems like a reasonable compromise to me. All of this assumes, of course, that audience members will be picking one over the other. I do feel like as you get into the older audience members like myself, we do try to maybe budget ourselves a little bit more carefully, whereas if you're younger, you probably have a little bit more disposable income, and maybe you do in fact want to go see both of those on day one. So to summarize, I don't see Sonic 4 playing a huge role in affecting the box office of the next MonsterVerse film, and if it does, I do think that that effect will be minimal, just due to sort of that moviegoer preference, which movie they'd rather see on the big screen, but also that target demographic that I talked about at the beginning of the video. I just really hope it doesn't become an online discussion of like which one is better, which one is winning. They are both doing really, really well as film franchises, and I think that there's enough bread on the table that both of them can walk away having being very successful ventures. So that's going to be it for me, but I'm curious to hear from you. Are you planning to see Sonic 4? Are you planning to see MonsterVerse 6? Are you planning to see them on opening days? Or are you going to have to pick one? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye!